Okay, real talk for a second. You're sitting at your kitchen table. Maybe it's a Sunday morning. You've got your coffee going, and you decide today's the day. Today, you're going to actually look at your retirement account. You log in, you see the number, and your stomach drops. Because it's not $1 million. It's not even close to $1 million. And suddenly, this voice in your head, the voice of every financial influencer, every retirement calculator, every well-meaning article you've ever clicked on, starts going, "You're behind. You're so far behind. You're never going to make it." Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. Here's the thing though, and I need you to stay with me on this. What if that voice is wrong? What if the $1 million retirement rule, this number that's been drilled into our heads for decades, is actually not based on how most real people actually live in retirement? What if it's a number that was never really designed for you in the first place? Because look, I've been deep in this stuff, and what I found genuinely surprised me. The conventional wisdom around retirement savings is causing real psychological damage to real people, people who are actually going to be fine. And I think it's time we had an honest conversation about it. So today, we're breaking it all down. We're talking about where the $1 million myth came from, what actual retirees say about their lives right now, and most importantly, how much you actually need to retire comfortably based on your real life, not some financial planner's ideal client profile. Let's get into it. Hello, I'm Anne. Welcome to my channel. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. Alright, so where does this $1 million number even come from? Because it didn't just fall out of the sky. You've probably heard of the 4% rule. It's been around since the mid-90s, and the idea is simple. If you have $1 million saved, you can withdraw 4% of it every year in retirement, which gives you $40,000 annually, and your money should last roughly 30 years. That's the math behind the magic number. And honestly, as a framework, it's not terrible. The problem is that somewhere along the way, the 4% rule and the $1 million threshold got turned into this absolute, universal truth that applies to every single American, regardless of their income, their lifestyle, their location, their social security situation, all of it. It became gospel, and the financial media loves it. Are you on track for retirement? Click. Why you need $1.5 million to retire comfortably? Click. The retirement crisis facing Americans. Click, click, click. Here's what those headlines never tell you. The typical American retiree has about $126,000 in household savings. That's according to a 2025 retirement survey by the Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies. And other surveys suggest that only about half of all retirees have any retirement savings at all. Half. No retirement savings whatsoever. Now hold that number in your head for just a second, because here's where it gets interesting. Despite those savings numbers, 82% of retirees in an April Gallup poll said they have enough money to live comfortably. Let that sink in. 82%. In the 2025 Federal Survey of Household Economics and Decision-Making, this is a government survey, not a financial industry survey with an agenda. 83% of Americans over 60 said they were either living comfortably or doing okay financially. And in that same Transamerica survey we mentioned, 76% of retirees said they're confident they can maintain a comfortable lifestyle. So we have this massive disconnect. On one side, we have an entire industry telling us we need $1 million, maybe even $1.5 million to retire without eating cat food. On the other side, we have millions of actual retirees with far less than that saying, actually, we're doing pretty good. Who do you believe? The industry that makes money when you're scared, or the people who are actually living it? Andrew Biggs, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, put it really bluntly. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, if what you're asking is, are we preparing sufficiently for retirement, all of these numbers say that we are. That's a researcher who studies this stuff full-time saying the retirement crisis narrative is overblown. A few years ago, Biggs wrote a column in the Wall Street Journal with the headline, "You don't need to be a millionaire to retire." And it made waves because we're so conditioned to hear the opposite. His point was simple. You can retire with a lot less than $1 million. Most Americans do, and most of them seem to be doing all right. Now, I want to be careful here, because saying most retirees are okay is not the same as saying don't save money. There's nuance here that really matters, and we're going to get to it. But first, let's completely dismantle the myth that $1 million is some kind of universal finish line, because it isn't. Think about it this way. Imagine two people, both 65 years old, both about to retire. Person A made $200,000 a year for most of their career. They've got a big house, expensive hobbies, they're used to dining out regularly and traveling internationally. They need to replace a significant chunk of that income in retirement. Person B made $55,000 a year. They own a modest home outright. Their kids are grown. They're not living large, but they're happy. They don't need $200,000 worth of lifestyle to feel comfortable. Same retirement age, completely different numbers. And yet somehow we've decided that both of these people need $1 million? Anshi Chen, Associate Director of Savings and Household Finance at the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College, actually said exactly this. She said, "Not everyone needs $1 million. That's a very high number for some people and not enough for others. That one number just doesn't fit everyone." Bingo. So let's talk about what actually drives how much you need. The biggest factor, the one that almost no one talks about in these scary retirement articles, is Social Security. Social Security is the backbone of retirement income for most Americans. And here's something important about how it works that a lot of people don't fully understand. Social Security benefits are progressive. That means the less you earned during your working years, the higher percentage of your pre-retirement income gets replaced by your Social Security check. Here's how it actually breaks down. For earnings up to about $1,286 a month, Social Security replaces 90% of your income. 90%. For income between roughly $1,286 and $7,749 per month, the replacement rate drops to 32%. And for high earners above that, it drops to 15%. Think about what that means in practice. If you're a lower income worker, and that's most Americans, Social Security is going to replace a huge chunk of what you were making. You don't need massive personal savings on top of that to maintain your lifestyle, because Social Security is already doing most of the heavy lifting. But if you're a high earner, Social Security only replaces 15 cents on the dollar for your highest income. You are going to need substantial savings because Social Security barely makes a dent in your pre-retirement lifestyle. Biggs summed it up perfectly. He said lower-income households shouldn't be saving very much for retirement, and they're not saving very much for retirement. They're doing what makes sense for their situation. The system is actually working as designed, at least for them. America's median household income is around $84,000, according to federal data. If you saved 10 times that, which is the other common rule of thumb, you'd have $840,000. You wouldn't even hit $1 million by following the standard advice applied to median income. So the $1 million target was never really meant for the average American. It was designed for higher earners, and yet it gets marketed to everyone. Now, here's where I have to pump the brakes, because I don't want you walking away from this thinking retirement planning is no big deal. Just let Social Security handle it and relax. Because there's a catch, a big one. Most retirees say they're doing fine, right now, today, with the health they have today, the expenses they have today. But what happens when things change? Catherine Collinson, CEO of the Transamerica Center, put it in really stark terms. She said, they're doing okay financially, but if they were hit with a major shock, like having to pay for major out-of-pocket long-term care, their savings would be depleted in a hurry. And long-term care is not a small risk. According to the Transamerica survey, nearly 50% of retirees said they would rely on family and friends to provide long-term care rather than pay for professional caregivers. Think about what that actually means. Half of retirees are counting on their kids, their spouse, their siblings to take care of them if they get seriously ill. That's not a financial plan. That's a hope. The Center for Retirement Research at Boston College maintains something called the National Retirement Risk Index. It estimates how many workers are at risk of not being able to maintain their standard of living in retirement. Right now, that number sits at 39%. Roughly 2 in 5 workers may genuinely struggle. So here's the real picture. Most retirees are okay, but their financial stability is fragile. It's like a house that looks solid from the outside, but has some cracks in the foundation. Most of the time, it holds up fine. But a bad storm, a serious health event, that changes everything fast. Craig Copeland, Director of Wealth Benefits Research at the Employee Benefit Research Institute, put it exactly this way. Most retirees do seem to be getting by, but how we define getting by becomes tricky. Getting by is not the same as thriving, and I think that distinction matters. Here's another thing worth noting. Retirees, as a group, actually tend to be more financially stable than younger Americans, which might also surprise you. In the survey of household economics and decision-making, the share of Americans who say they're doing worse than okay financially actually declines with age. At ages 35 to 44, about 32% say they're struggling financially. By age 75 and older, that drops to just 12%. Biggs pointed this out directly. He said only a tiny percentage of seniors say they're really having a hard time, and those percentages are smaller than for working-age people. Part of that is because once you retire, your expenses often genuinely decrease. You're not commuting. You're not buying work clothes. Your kids are grown. You're not necessarily saving 10 to 15% of your income anymore because you're not earning income. The cost of your daily life often goes down significantly. Meanwhile, for younger people, and this one hit me when I read it, only 47% of Americans have enough cash on hand to cover a $1,000 emergency, according to a recent bank rate survey. Not a retirement crisis, a $1,000 emergency. So we're out here panicking about not having $1 million saved while simultaneously not being able to handle a car repair. And that tells you something important about what financial stress actually looks like in America right now. The crisis, to whatever extent it exists, is happening right now, not in retirement. Okay, so let's get practical. Let's talk about what you actually need. There is no single number. Anyone who tells you there is, whether that's $1 million or $500,000 or $2 million, is selling you something. Because your number depends on your life. Start with this question. What does your lifestyle actually cost? Not what you earn, what you spend. Those are different numbers for most people, and retirement is about expenses, not income. If you're spending $40,000 a year right now and you expect to spend roughly the same in retirement, your Social Security benefit might cover a huge portion of that, especially if you're a median or lower income earner. The gap between what Social Security provides and what you need is what your savings have to fill. That's your real target, not $1 million, the gap. Now layer in a few other questions. Do you own your home outright? That's massive. Housing is typically the biggest expense in retirement, and if it's gone, your number goes down significantly. Do you have a pension? Increasingly rare, but if you do, factor it in. Do you have significant health issues that might drive up medical costs? Factor that in the other direction. And then, this is the one most people skip. Do you have a plan for long-term care? This is where most retirement plans break down. The average cost of a private room in a nursing home in the U.S. is over $100,000 a year. A home health aide runs $60,000 to $70,000 a year. If you need that care for 3 or 4 years, it's a $300,000 problem. Long-term care insurance, dedicated savings, or a very honest conversation with your family about what happens, this needs to be part of your plan. Here's the framework I want you to take away from this. Stop chasing a number. Start building a floor. Your retirement floor is the income you know you'll have no matter what. Social Security is the foundation. If you have a pension, add it. If you have rental income or other passive sources, add those. Now look at what your actual annual expenses are likely to be in retirement. Is your floor enough to cover them? If yes, you're in better shape than you probably thought. If there's a gap, that's what your savings need to close. This is a completely different way of thinking about it, and it's way less panic-inducing than staring at a $1 million target and feeling like you'll never get there. Because here's what I really want you to understand. The $1 million benchmark isn't wrong for everyone. For high earners with expensive lifestyles, it might actually be on the low side. But for the average American, it's a number that creates anxiety without creating clarity. It's a goal that was designed for someone else's life, and you've been comparing yourself to it your whole career. So what should you actually do? Let's land this thing. First, figure out your Social Security estimate. Seriously, go to ssa.gov right now, create an account, and look at your projected benefit. Most people have never done this. It takes 5 minutes and it will change how you think about retirement planning entirely. You might be surprised how much you're projected to receive. Second, calculate your retirement gap. Take your estimated annual expenses in retirement, subtract your projected Social Security benefit, and that's the annual income your savings need to generate. That number, multiplied by 25, which is the inverse of the 4% rule, is your real personal savings target, not $1 million, your number. Third, protect against the shocks. Health emergencies, long-term care, a market downturn early in retirement, these are the things that turn fine into crisis. Whether that's through insurance, a dedicated emergency fund, or a more conservative investment allocation as you approach retirement, have a plan for the unexpected. And fourth, stop letting fear drive your financial decisions. Because the financial industry is very, very good at making you feel behind, making you feel inadequate, making you feel like you're one missed contribution away from eating ramen at 80. And some of that fear is useful. It motivates people to save. But a lot of it is just noise designed to make you click, to make you hire advisors, to make you buy products. The actual evidence from actual retirees living actual lives says that most people end up okay. Not because they hit some magic number, because they built a life that made sense for their income. They let Social Security do what it was designed to do, and they stayed adaptable. Look, I'm not telling you not to save. Save. Absolutely save as much as you reasonably can, because more is always better than less, and the power of compound interest is real. But I am telling you that if you're looking at your retirement account and feeling like a failure because it doesn't say $1 million, you might be measuring yourself against a standard that was never meant for you. The real question isn't, do I have $1 million? The real question is, do I have enough to cover my life? And for a lot of people, more people than the retirement industry wants you to believe, the answer is actually yes. Figure out your number, build toward your floor, protect against the shocks, and stop letting someone else's benchmark steal your peace of mind. You've got this.